Hello everyone. Today's joke of the day is, when do people start using their trampoline? Stay tuned to find out. Our learning target for today is, I can determine if two lines are perpendicular, and I can write an equation through a point given a perpendicular line. So if you remember back to our most recent video for parallel lines, the slopes of our lines are equal. Sorry, gotta get this straight. There we go. For parallel lines, the slopes are equal. Okay? They're equal. But then for perpendicular lines, the definition is that the slopes are opposite reciprocals. Okay, so we've talked about reciprocal before when we are multiplying or actually dividing fractions. We flip the fraction, right, to instead of dividing the fractions, instead multiply by the reciprocal, right? So if I had like 1/2 divided by 3/4, that would really be the same as 1/2 times 4/3, and 4/3 and 3/4 are reciprocals. Now to make it the opposite, that's when we change the sign. Okay, so opposite, if it's negative, we'll make it positive, and if it's positive, we'll make it negative. Okay, so let's look at a couple examples here so you can see what I'm talking about. We want to find the perpendicular slopes. So our slope here is -3/2. So the perpendicular slope the perpendicular slope is going to be the opposite. So it's going to actually be positive because this one's negative. Positive, which you don't really need that, but I'll put that in here for right now. And then we'll flip it, so it'll be 2/3. So positive 2/3 is going to be the perpendicular slope. And I'm actually going to erase that. We don't really need it. Okay, 2/3 then is our slope. Okay, for this next one, our slope here is 1/2. So our perpendicular slope is going to be -2/1. And we'll simplify that, and that will just be equal to -2. Okay. In this case, for this next one, we have y equals -4x minus 2. -4 is our slope here, but that's really -4/1, right? So if we're going to find the reciprocal, well, the opposite, first of all, is going to be positive, and it's going to be positive 1/4. Okay, that's our slope for that one. In this same one, we have to put a 1 underneath it. This one's positive, so we're going to have a negative slope, and it'll be -1/2. Okay. Let's look at this one. Our slope here, well, we have this invisible 1 here in front of our x, and that's really 1/1. Okay. So if we're going to flip 1/1, actually we have to first make it opposite, so it's going to be negative, and then we flip the 1 and the 1, so it's going to be -1/1. But that just really simplifies to -1. This is kind of a special case where you don't end up with a fraction for either of them. Okay, that really will only happen with the number 1. Okay, and last example here, we have our slope is going to be equal to, well, it'll be a positive, and then it'll be positive 4/1. We'll simplify that down to +4. Okay, make sure you are always simplifying the slope down as much as possible so our equation can look as clean as possible. Okay, so now let's look at some steps to writing a perpendicular line now that we've talked a little bit about opposite reciprocals. So first thing you want to do is identify the slope of the perpendicular line by finding the opposite reciprocal. Okay, and then you're going to plug your x, y. These come from the point. And your m, which comes from here, into your y equals mx plus b, your slope-intercept form. Then the next thing you're going to do is solve for b, and you will write your final equation in y equals mx plus b. Okay, these two, y and x, should stay the same. These should be variables. And then your m and your b, these should be numbers. Okay, just a reminder of how slope-intercept form looks. Okay, so now let's do a little practice. We're going to write an equation. I wrote parallel, but I meant perpendicular to the following lines through the given points. Okay, so we want perpendicular to y equals 1/2 x plus 1 through the point 4, 2. Okay, so first thing we need to do is determine our slope, which is going to be the opposite reciprocal. So it's going to be negative 2 over 1, which is really just equal to negative 2. Okay, and then our 4 and our 2, those are going to be our x and our y. So we're going to plug those into our y equals mx plus b. Okay, so the negative 2 is going to go in for m, the 4 will go in for x, and the 2 will go in for y. And then we're going to solve for this. Okay, so we'll get 2 equals negative 2, which is our slope, times 4, which is our x value of our point, plus b. Okay, now we solve for b. So 2 is equal to negative 2 times 4 is negative 8 plus b. Add 8 to both sides. And then we get 10 is equal to b. Okay, b equals 10. So our equation in its final form is going to be y equals negative 2x plus 10. Okay. Let's look at this next one. Perpendicular to y equals negative 3x minus 6 through the point 6, negative 2. So our slope, first of all, is going to be, well, this is negative 3 over 1. So it's going to be a positive 1/3. And then this is our x and our y. So we'll plug those into our equation. So we'll take negative 2 equals, we have y equals mx plus b, remember? Negative 2 equals 1/3 times 6 plus b, and we're going to solve for b. So we'll have negative 2 equals 1/3 times 6 is 2, plus b. We'll subtract 2 from both sides to solve, and then negative 2 minus 2 is negative 4 is equal to b. So our equation is going to be y equals our slope 1/3 x minus 4. Here, perpendicular to y equals negative 2/3 x plus 4 through the point 2, negative 3. Well, first we find our slope, opposite, so it's going to be a positive, and then flip our 3 and our 2. So it'll be a positive 3/2. And then we have our x and our y here. So if we have y equals mx plus b, we are going to plug all of our values in to solve for b. So we'll have y, it's negative 3, equals m, which is 3/2, times x, which is 2, plus b. Now, let's multiply this. This is 2 over 1. Okay, so we can actually cancel out our 2's here. Those will just be 1, and then we'll multiply across. So 3/2 times 2 is actually just 3. And then we'll have our plus b. We subtract 3 from both sides. Negative 3 minus 3 is negative 6 is equal to b. So that's our b value, our y-intercept. And then we'll rewrite our equation to y equals m, which is 3/2 x plus negative 6, or just minus 6. Okay, and then let's look at one last example here. Perpendicular to y equals negative x minus 8 through the point negative 8, negative 7. Okay, well in this case, our slope is negative 1 over 1. Okay, so our new slope is going to be equal to positive 1 over 1, which is really just positive 1. So we'll have, and then this will be x and y, so we'll have y equals mx plus b. And you get negative 7 equals 1 times negative 8 plus b. So that's negative 7 equals negative 8 plus b. And then we'll add 8 to both sides to get b all by itself. And we get 1 is equal to b. So b equals 1. So then we can write out our equation. We'll get y equals m, which is 1x plus 1, which is b. But we want to simplify. We always want to simplify. So this really, our final answer will be y equals x plus 1. Okay, we don't really need this 1x here. So quickly, just to summarize, writing an equation that is perpendicular to a given line through a particular point is really mostly the same as parallel. The only difference is that for the slope, you don't use the same slope, you use the opposite reciprocal. So you find that first by taking the opposite reciprocal of the slope that you're given. Okay? So for today's joke of the day, when do people start using their trampoline? Springtime. Thanks for watching and have a great day.